Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and this is my guy right here, former CIA analyst, Larry Johnson. How is it going, Larry?
Good to be back with you, brother.
Yeah, hey, Larry, I got to start off with this. What is going on in the minds of Blinken, Biden? Well, we know nothing is going on in Biden's mind, but in Blinken and his crew's mind about the constant provocations of against Russia and the open advocacy for allowing Ukraine to launch long-range strikes into Russian territory.
Uh, Apparently, they've never played chess in their life and have never had to think about what comes next. They're thinking just immediate. They're like a teenager or a child, immediate gratification. They're only thinking about the now. They're not thinking about what comes next, what happens tomorrow, and the following. It's really dangerous because just flip the script. If Russia was talking about arming narcotics gangs to hit targets inside the United States, you think we'd be cool with that? No, no. I mean, that'd be seen as a declaration of war. So, for the life of me, I don't understand why, we're so arrogant to believe that we can do it to them, but they can't do it to us. And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's the danger here. Right now, Ukraine can't. They can cause some damage, but there's nothing that they can launch inside of Russia that will be devastating from a military standpoint or change the course of the war. It's just gratuitous violence, and it's killing innocent people in many cases.
Mm-hmm.
When I say innocent, I mean people that are not taking active part in the hostilities and are not directly involved with the defense industry or wearing a uniform, carrying a gun. So they're out of control.
Yeah, I see right now. There's some technical issues going on right now. YouTube is blocking, and I just got something on my screen right here. From it says we are having trouble streaming to your destination Rumble now. So we know that there has to be something other than YouTube trying to block the platform from airing, but it's still live on the Red Pill Journals, Odyssey, and Twitter. So we can continue.
What about BitChute?
Larry, I have my son looking into that because I remember you saying that, and he's setting it up for me. I'm not computer literate. My son does that, and he said he'll have that up. He said he laid the base for it, and he is just going to take him when he has time off. He's going to do it for me.
Yeah, because I'm friends with the owner of BitChute, Jeffrey Warnick, and he is totally committed to freedom of expression. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to ever get sanctioned for content there. And it's better to build audience away from YouTube. YouTube is just, all they are is an arm of the Israeli government anymore.
Do you think, back to the Russian situation, why don't you think Russia does a tit for tat with the United States? And what I mean by that is every time the United States provoke, why doesn't Russia respond? And because the only way to stop bullies sometimes is to sock them in the mouth or something.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think we're fortunate that Vladimir Putin is not an emotional man. He is calm and rational, and he doesn't want this thing to get out of control and put even the United States in a position where the United States will feel, oh, well, we have to escalate. I think it's only a matter of time before the Russians start shooting down our Predators and other intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance aircraft that are collecting data and then passing that data to Ukraine that's being used to attack Russian targets. The Russians have been pretty patient about that up to this point. But there will come a point where that patience will end. The United States, we act like we're all powerful with unlimited resources, with superb military equipment that's unparalleled in the world. And it's all just self-deception. You know, we're we're like this, the guy that weighs 325 pounds and is, 5'6", a watermelon with feet. We're like the guy, and he's sitting there in his sofa, chomping on potato chips, and in his mind, he's Bruce Jenner back in his prime, back when Bruce Jenner still had genitals. Okay, so that he sees himself as this svelte athlete who can do the decathlon and run faster, jump higher. But then comes time, man, he can barely get out of that couch to get to the bathroom.
Mhm.
And that's sort of what we've become. And people say, well, how could you say that? Well, we're spending $100 million a pop for a bunch of F-35 jets. So,
Wow.
do the math on that. 10 of those babies are $1 billion. Okay? And so if 10 gets you $1 billion, then 100 gets you 10 billion. All of a sudden, you're talking real money here. And yet, only 29% of those planes can fly at any given time and be operationally capable to conduct combat operations. But if you bought an automobile from Ford or Chevy or Jeep, Chrysler, and it spent 71% of its time in the shop, there's a thing called lemon laws. You get to go get your money back.
Yeah.
As taxpayers, though, where are we going to go to get our money back? It's being invested in Lamborghinis, Ferraris, and expensive properties in Northern Virginia.
Well, Larry, when we're talking about the makeup of the U.S. government and their insane policies, don't you think with the debt burden that's on the American people and the American government, that it would be wiser for them to make more friends around the world to continue on this dollar escapade than to always provoke, stoke,
Yeah.
and then demonize nations around the world? Because these very nations that you're trying to surround with your military, the very nations that you're trying to provoke, are the ones that you rely on to buy your debt. To me, that is like a crack dealer smoking his own crack and believing that nobody on the outside knows that he is now smoking his own crack.
Yeah, or taking the crack and lacing it with fentanyl so you kill your users.
Yeah.
Where'd all those customers go? Oh, they're dead. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, your mom and my mom both taught us growing up, it's better off to make friends than to go out each day saying, who can I piss off today? Who can I alienate and make angry with me? That's what the U.S. policy is.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna yell at you like some drunk mother-in-law, and then if you don't do what we say, we're going to turn around and tell you, sanction you. We're going to hurt you economically. We're going to hurt you, and then if that doesn't work, we'll hurt you physically. We'll go to war with you. But
Yeah.
compromise, diplomacy, get that.
Well, I was looking earlier. It's like when we're talking about the provoking of other nations, the provocations of other nations. I saw that America is stating that the nations around the world are wrong for recognizing a Palestinian state or accepting it fully into the United Nations. And they're saying that they don't believe in unilateral recognition of the Palestinian statehood, but with their actions, they recognize Israel's right to exist, or they recognize their right to intervene in other nations. How is that not hypocrisy? On one hand, you don't believe in unilateralism, and then on the other hand, you ignore all of the levels of international diplomacy to push your agenda. How is that not hypocrisy?
Oh, it is. So no, it's the hypocrisy over all of this is just appalling. On the one hand, the United States insists that Russia is committing genocide in Ukraine. They're not committing genocide. they're limiting very much so civilian casualties. But where there's clear evidence that Israel's committing genocide, they shy away from admitting they can't admit what's out plainly out there. So, but they've become so accustomed to lying about everything with Joe Biden. I mean, lies about getting arrested in South Africa, lies about where he went to school, lies about he was going to be a quarterback at the Naval Academy, didn't even apply to the Naval Academy. Lied about how his son died. A combat casualty out of Iraq. No, brain tumor. Could have been caused by exposure to chemicals in Iraq. That's a whole other thing. So it's just, and then it'd be one thing if they were just lying about their personal lives, but then they completely lie about the whole international arena. Mm-hmm. And instead of, being able to have an honest conversation about why is Russia upset? Why did Russia feel compelled to start the special military operation? The Western narrative is they just did it because they're authoritarians wanting to reconquer the world. Then you say, what? Why did it have something to do with the fact that starting from 1990, NATO pushed its organization 1,000 miles closer to Moscow? Maybe that had something to do with it. And most people in the West don't want to grapple with those kinds of facts.
Well, Larry, you being a person from the intelligence sphere of the U.S. government, I know if you're in a business and you're in a high position and you continue to make wrong policy and it continues to cost the corporation and the shareholders dividends, I know heads will roll. Well, I want to ask you, being a former member of the intelligence community, and I know you have contacts, why aren't any heads rolling for all of the intelligence failures on the Ukrainian situation with Russia and the Palestinian situation concerning Israel and in Africa too?
Man, are you naive? Yeah. So here's the deal of how government works. You can go in every day and you can be the biggest screw up around and you still get paid every 2 weeks. In fact, once you're past your probation, you're in there like a fat tick on a dog's ass. They're not going to get you out, and you're sucking. You are a blood sucker, and more often than not, people when they screw up, they get promoted. They don't get punished; they get promoted. And I've seen it over and over. When I first moved down to State Department from CIA, I had a boss who had just retired from the Marine Corps. And he started telling me about the Marine Corps ethics, its code of honor. And he said, hey, officers eat last. And what that means is officers are supposed to look out for the welfare of their troops. And an officer's not supposed to take care of any of his own personal needs until he's sure that the needs of his men, that they're taken care of, that they're fed, they're watered, they're clothed, they're properly housed. And I had to tell him, I said, oh man, your motto is officers eat last. I said, I just came from an outfit where their motto was officers eat first and eat often. So yeah, there's no accountability in the system. That's the reality. Who got fired at CIA for claiming that there were weapons of mass destruction inside Iraq? Mm-hmm. Who got fired at CIA for helping give the wrong coordinates that were used to blow up the Chinese embassy in Serbia back in the day? So we can go down a whole litany of screw ups and failures over time, and more often than not, the people get promoted. They don't get punished.
Well, isn't that a reflection of why the U.S. is going downhill? Because remember, when I started that question, I was like, if you're a corporation or you work for a corporation and you continually get everything wrong and cost the company and the shareholders money, then you'll get axed. But maybe it's because these people are continually going on the wrong path, and there's no accountability that they're running the country into the ground.
Well, even you've seen even in the private sector, they've not had accountability. They some of these people screw up, they get out with a golden parachute.
Yeah.
You know, too bad it's not a real gold parachute and they weren't pushed out of the plane. Because if it was a gold parachute and they're falling out of a plane, they're going to crash into the ground and you don't have to worry about them anymore. But no, they screw up. I mean, look at what's happened to the people that ran Boeing. Good
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
they have destroyed a brand. I know people now that actually, when they're making a trip, if they see that they're flying on Boeing, man, they're looking for another airline. They want to go Airbus or something. Anything but Boeing.
And Boeing had a stranglehold on the air on air travel for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
Man, that shows you that the country, everything that America once dominated in, she's losing her grip on those different areas. Is this one of the reasons why she's provoking China? Is this one of the reasons that she sees China as a threat and that she sees Russia as a threat? Is because she no longer controls all the levels of power, like the technology sphere or the information sphere or the political arena or whatever? Are the people lashing out because of that?
It's almost genetic with us anymore. We've convinced ourselves that we're the most important, smartest country in the world, that the world needs us. We don't need the rest of the world. And that these other countries have got to do what we tell them to do because it's in our interest. I mean, we're gonna dictate to the Chinese what islands and what bases that they can put in the South China Sea. That's not even in our neighborhood. That's their neighborhood. But in our mind, it's our neighborhood. We've got to make sure that we can keep those sea lanes open for us. Even though we don't have any really U.S. flagged ships outside of the U.S. Navy. They're all flagged in Panama and Liberia and other places around the world. Um, and we're trying, we are genuinely trying to provoke a fight with China at the same time that we cannot handle Russia and what's going on in the Middle East with the Houthis and with Iran. We can't handle it. But we've got that attention span of the 3-year-old kid with a plastic hammer. Man, everything looks like a nail and you got to hit it. That's all we're doing. We're hitting it, but not accomplishing anything other than weakening ourselves and, maybe killing a bunch of people overseas in the process.
You, I was just thinking as you were talking about these threats of allowing Ukraine to launch airstrikes or missile strikes into Russian territory, which would be a casus belli for a declaration of war for Russia against the U.S. or NATO. Do you think that some of these politicians believe that because America is losing, I mean, she could still be a power among powers, but they want to be the absolute power? Do you believe that they are willing to take the world to nuclear war to preserve America's hegemony globally?
Well, if it was put to them in those kinds of stark terms, I think a majority would probably say no. But there's enough of a vocal minority that would say, "Oh, absolutely." And the problem we have is the politicians. They're not the smartest guys in the room, unfortunately, and they lock into narratives, stories, fables, without actually drilling down and saying let's look at the facts. Do facts matter? And I've been using the example of you got almost every prominent politician in America refers to Hamas as this terrible terrorist organization. Okay, what's your basis for calling them a, quote, terrorist organization? Well, what they did on October 7th. Well, okay, what they did on October 7th was a military attack. It was not, they attacked military targets. They also attacked civilian targets, and the purpose in the attacking those was to capture people, to use as bargaining chips, because Israel's been out rounding up thousands of Palestinians, including children, and submitting them to torture, to sleep deprivation, inadequate food, and holding them without charges. They're just picking them and holding them because they can. Sort of like the United States with guys at Guantanamo. Well, we'll violate the law there. It is, when you look at the actual numbers for Hamas, the total terrorist attacks, I've now got the solid numbers. A friend of mine reads my blog at sonar21.com.
Awesome blog.
Yeah, put together an incredible spreadsheet. And it turns out that from September 27th of 2000 until April 26th of 2024, so it's almost 24 years, there were a grand total of 594 acts of violence, which the Israelis classify as terrorism, by Palestinians against Israelis. Now, of that 594 incidents, fewer than 100 were attributed to Hamas. So about 16% of the terrorist attacks are linked to Hamas. Well, excuse me, that's not even one per year, for starters. And then when you look at the casualties, 1,552 died in that period. Again, over 24 years. Look at that's the murder rate in Chicago for 1 year. Okay? Or maybe Washington, D.C. or New York City. I mean, it's a terrible number for those that lose a loved one. But in the overall scheme of things, over 24 years, you're not talking a lot. And then when you really dig into the data, you find out that, the majority of the incidents took place between 2000 and 2005, when what's called the Second Intifada. And then after that, what you're looking at are isolated attacks with guns, knives, vehicle rammings. The last suicide bombing in Israel took place in 2007. That's 17 years ago, by any of these groups, Palestinian groups. Now, may have fallen off because of Israeli security measures, but I think another element in there is Hamas made a decision that, hey, this suicide bombing is counterproductive. We're not accomplishing anything with this. And yet, politicians refer, Hamas is this terrible terrorist organization. Well, what's your criteria for terrible? If you kill more than 500 people, does that make you a violent terrorist organization? Then, by God, we better start declaring these organizations in New York and Philadelphia and Oakland and Los Angeles and Atlanta, because they're killing people right and left. I mean, in Chicago over the weekend, they had over 31 shootings. Hell, we never had that many shootings in Iraq during the war. And of that, about five were killed, including some 5-year-old girl. So, I mean, but, we don't care because it's largely black people. So, who gives a shit about them, man? Just let them kill each other, right? I mean, that's the attitude. That's how it's handled. It's just, as long as we don't report on it, as long as we don't talk about it, it's not real. But Israel, oh my God, Israel's facing this horrific terrorist threat. And then you step back and look at the actual body count. For every Israeli killed by a Palestinian, and the Palestinians aren't killing the Israelis because they say, we hate Jews. No, they're killing these people because they view them as interlopers, encroachers on their own on land that belongs to Palestine. That's how they see it. And the Israelis kill Palestinians because they see them as interlopers, encroachers on land that they claim is Israel's, given to them by God. So, right off the bat, you've got some irreconcilable differences there. But for every Palestinian for every Israeli killed by a Palestinian, the Israelis are killing on average 7. Now, and in light of this war, probably 20 Palestinians are killed by Israel for every one that's been killed by Palestinians. It's disproportionate. It's mind-numbing, the difference. And I'm tired of seeing the images of babies with their heads blown open. It is the Israelis claim that Hamas killed all these children. They don't provide any names, but by God, you can see names and images of the actual children that have been killed by the IDF, and it's awful.
I know you have to go, Larry, but can I get 2 questions in? One on Russia and one on China.
Sure.
This morning on RT, they're reporting this: NATO training for nuclear strike on Russia, according to a general, and it opens like this: the U.S.-led bloc poses a military threat to the country. The head of the Border Guard Service has warned. NATO nations are preparing for a possible nuclear strike on Russia. A senior Moscow general has warned. Now, if a senior general is warning this and is publicly stating this, shouldn't this be a matter of concern, not just for Russia, but for the United States, for Brussels, and for the UK, because these are where all of the decisions are made. And if Russia sees this as a threat, they could have in their mind that they must strike first.
Yeah, no, we're playing with nuclear fire. That's all, pure and simple. And I think part of the problem is a lot of these people that are making decisions, whether it's Jake Sullivan or Anthony Blinken, they've never actually been in an actual physical fist fight in their lives. And it always helps to have been in one of those fights to find out what it's like to get your ass kicked, particularly by someone that you didn't think could do it. Because there's nothing worse than that kind of surprise.
Yeah.
But so they think that they can continue to make these threats and act recklessly, that there will be no price to be paid. The problem is when that bill comes due, they won't be able to pay it. And, it'll be paid by mostly young men, some young women in this country. Usually from middle class and lower middle class families.
Yep. You got that right. That's absolutely right. Not usually, but almost 9 out of 10 times is like that.
Yeah.
But closing question: why is America seeing herself losing in the Middle East, North Africa, and now losing, dramatically in the Ukrainian conflict? Why is she now pivoting to antagonize her largest creditor in a area of the world that's so far away from her?
Yeah, we've convinced ourselves that we're the king of the world, and we get to call the shots. I find it fascinating how we sit back and describe, China's this, China's that. I'm not, I don't wear the rose-colored glasses and pretend, China's a utopia, China's a paradise. They got their problems.
Right.
Let them work their problems out themselves, okay? I learned, and I told you the story before, I learned a long time ago when I lived in Argentina. My wife and I were living with another couple, had 2 daughters, Anna and Beto. And, Anna was of Italian descent. Boy, she was sort of a fiery girl. And one day they came out and announced that they were going to get a divorce. Now, I was in my 20s and pretty stupid. And I chimed in, I said, I'm sorry to hear that. I wish it wasn't the case. But, Anna, you are a difficult person to live with. Oh. They were both mad at me. And they stayed married another 2 years just to spite me. Yeah. what I learned about that is even when you think you got good, friendly relations with someone else, another family, mind your own damn business.
Mhm.
Now, if they come to you, if I came to you and say, "Hey, man, Rashid, I've got some problems. I'm, here's my situation. Can you help me?" That's different. I've asked you to help. I've asked you for your advice. I've asked you for your wisdom. And I'm probably asked you for your money too. You know, but but that's different from uh, me walking around. Rashid, I think you ought to take that baseball cap off. I don't like that. And the glasses, yeah, lose those too. I don't really think you know what you're doing. And stop laughing so much. You'd go, I'm never inviting him back. He's obnoxious. The United States is doing that, only doing worse. Here's China saying, "Hey, you see our new baby?" And we go, "Man, that's the ugliest damn baby I've ever seen." Don't call their baby ugly. And to top it off with the agreement the United States made with China during Richard Nixon's presidency, and then it was signed into effect by Jimmy Carter in '79, was we recognized Taiwan as part of China, and we, the United States, promised never to arm Taiwan. We made that a commitment in '79. Well, we're the Alzheimer's country. We agree to stuff, and then we can't even remember what we agreed to.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're looking to pick a fight. You know how the expression is: your mouth is writing checks that your ass can't cash.
Mhm.
That's what we're doing.
Oh my God, Larry, thanks again for your time, man. I really, really appreciate it. I'll send you the link to the show once I figure out which one, where's the link at, because I just got cut off locals also just a second as you were talking. So I'll see where the link is and I'll send it to you.
They cut you off locals as well?
Yeah. I just got kicked off locals. As a matter of fact, I wish I could just could turn the thing around. I don't know how to do it. I know people that do, but right here I have a red question mark on Rumbles with no check mark, meaning I was kicked off of there, and I have a red question mark with no check mark on locals, and it just happened with the locals right now. So it says I'm on YouTube and I'm on Twitter and I'm on Twitch right now because the other ones kicked me off. So that's what I have to go through, Larry. But it's worth it to get some type of truth out. If it's just to one person, it's worth it because so many lives are being affected by these insane policies, and we all have to work together to try to inform as many people as possible.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. Hey, be
all
blessed,
right, my friend.
Man. All right.
Thank you
so much.
All righty. Bye.
Everybody who's still here, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. I apologize. We were suspended off of YouTube for a post that I put up. If you give me a chance, I'll read the post to you. I saved it. First, they said that they took my video down for the 25th of this month, and I was like, "What did I do?" So they put it wasn't down. So I'm like, okay, they told me they took the video down, but it's still up. But it tells me that I can't post in my community section and I can't do a video for over a week. And so it says that I put a post in our community section, and it was not my post. It was from an international recognized news organization. And all I did was put it, you know how people put in their community sections a little a section of the news clip and a picture. And that's what I did. And the article says this: the latest news coming from the Middle East concerning Palestine and the Zionist occupation forces is that Hamas resistance fighters have cornered and captured more Israeli soldiers. This is surely another bloody nose and beacon of embarrassment to the so-called superior armed forces of Israel. This was, and I was taking it and I put it in my own words, but it's pretty much from the news organization. And all I did was put up the picture. The picture just says Hamas says they captured more Israeli soldiers fight in Gaza fighting. YouTube said, and let me pull it up because I don't want to lie on them. This is what they said after they reviewed. First, they said that I was involved in criminal activity. Let me see if here it is. This says, "Hi, the Red Pill Diaries. Our team has reviewed your content, and unfortunately, we think it violates our, listen to this, our violent criminal organizations policy. We've removed the following content." Now, when I went on the link kept saying, "Oops, sorry." So there was no destination. So before I put this picture of what they sent me on Twitter, I just decided to refresh the link and go back on it. And when I did, it took me to that article. Okay. That little clip excerpt of the article. And YouTube says that I'm dealing in a violent criminal organization. I violated that violent criminal organization policy. I want to ask each and every one of you, when have I advocated violence? When have I ever advocated criminality? Huh? I'm asking. And I'm against all of these organizations that plunder and profit off of people's ignorance. So how could they even assign this article to their so-called policy, a policy which they just made up because they never said anything about this before? And when my son, he petitioned a review of that, this is what they came back and said to me. See, I want to let you know why I'm not on YouTube at this moment and why that I'm not posting updates or whatever, okay? And this was 8 hours ago, a response. "Hi, the Red Pill Diaries. We have reviewed your appeal for the following." And the following has the little link to it, which was that article. And it says, we've reviewed your content carefully and have confirmed that it violates our violent criminal organization policy. Now, in that article, I advocated nothing. I was just posting from an article. And even in that, there was no violence talked about. It was just saying that the Israeli so-called IDF soldiers were surrounded and captured. I didn't say Hamas go kill anybody. I didn't say Israel go kill anyone. I didn't say Russia go over there and bomb, Syria bomb the Israelis. I didn't say any of those things. I was quoting what was written, and nothing in what was written had any violent intent or statements about it. So remember this, everybody. I just came off of an involuntary vacation by YouTube with no explanation of why. And I haven't been on the air 1 week, not even 1 week, and this happens. And then after they do this, they send me something saying, "Well, good news, Rashid. We've reviewed your video." Wait, let's see. Can I pull it up? Where is it at? On here somewhere it says, "Good news, Rashid. We reviewed your video, the video that they banned and said that it was violent. And we found that it has no copyright infringements on it." So in the midst of them violating me in such a way, in the midst of them throwing up all of these trumped up charges, I would say, against me and suspending me, they say, "Oh, the video that we took down a week and a half ago, the video that we demonetized and we gave you a warning over and a strike over, we now have good news that we're taking that away." They're taking it away as they give me another strike and another warning. You can't make this up. You tell me where what I said to you all, was anything worse than what you hear on YouTube right now. And if it wasn't, why are they singling me out constantly? Huh? It's absolutely insane. But listen, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me on this platform for truth. In the show today, we're going to try to find out which platforms were stopped. I see 2 that had the links broken. We're going to post the video up on those links shortly if they were taken down. Okay, so don't worry. Those of you who are listening on Twitch, Twitter, the Red Pill Journals, and it still says you can listen on the Red Pill Diaries. I don't know, but it says that up there. Thank you all for joining me. Sometimes I'm frustrated over this foolishness, and I know that they are. And it seems like they have really tripled down against me since I declined their offer to join their Illuminati team. That's what it's about. They offered, and I immediately declined it and told them where they could take that. If it wasn't them, it was someone acting like them. Then, and I keep records, got the pictorial proof of it, the audio proof of it, and they have been trying to discredit me and destroy the show since then. But you cannot destroy what God has ordained, and the truth will always win out against falsehood. It may take a little time, but the eventual working out of the truth is victory. On that note, thank you all for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere on God's green earth. This is your platform for education, elevation, and edification. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, your friend, and your brother, Rashid. Know that I love each and every one of you if you love truth, but know that the truth and the love that God has for you will always make what I have for you pale in comparison. So until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. I love you all. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. I'm out of here.